Sit down. We're going to start. Good morning. My name is Rebecca Fisher, and on behalf of First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, Delaware, I welcome you to our worship service, whether you're joining us in the sanctuary or tuning in online. For visual accessibility, I'm a short white woman with chin-length light brown hair, and I'm wearing what Sue Furman, our guest musician, described as a coat of many colors. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a welcoming congregation, which means you are invited to bring your whole self here, and you will not be excluded. However you identify yourself, whomever you love, and wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. This morning, as I mentioned, we're also welcoming a guest organist, Sue Furman, familiar face to many of us. Thanks, Sue. If you're new to First Unitarian, please fill out the connections card you will find in front of your chair. And there should be a pen with it. You can keep the pen as our gift, but please return the card to one of the ushers, either during the collection or after the service. And if you're online, there should be a link in the chat that you can click on to sign up for our e-news. So you can connect with us and find out, for example, if the church service is going to be moved to Zoom or not, which it wasn't, so we're very grateful for that. You can also learn more about us by going to our website. First, UUWilm, that's short for Wilmington.org. A couple announcements because of the upcoming winter storm. We had a couple some programming scheduled this afternoon that's been canceled, the improv class and the youth vegan chili cook-off. But it should be a nice day to cook some chili at home, yeah? Well, let's put our welcoming words into action and greet the folks online. You can do that by turning to that camera on your left and waving. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us. And let's warmly welcome one another here in the sanctuary. Hey, Sue, didn't want you to be lonely up there. Today, Reverend Larry has promised us he's going to talk about getting in touch with the sacred in the everyday. And as he usually does, he'll give us some homework. So I'm sure we're going to get all really good at discovering the sacred in the everyday, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't still join us here Sunday morning. So now let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship.
Thank you, Sue. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to take a good look at all of you brave, courageous, warm souls and appreciate your being in this space and our being in this space together, as well as those who are joining us online. I'm the Reverend Larry Piers, the minister here at the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. And for visual accessibility, I'm about 6 feet tall. I have glasses, graying hair, a black minister's robe, and I looked for the brightest stole I could find today just because we've had so many gray days. So here I am. As is our custom, whenever someone in our congregation passes away, we take a moment to acknowledge them. This is someone who hasn't been involved in our congregation in quite a while, and I'll explain that in just a moment. But there may be some of you that knew her. So Phyllis Jean Butcher Hartzler. Phyllis was a former member who died on January 29th, 2025, and we're just learning about this. Beverly Baxter got a card that indicated that. So Phyllis moved to Maine in 2007 to be near her daughter Anne and family, and moved her active membership to the UU congregation at Church of Brunswick, where I actually preached last summer, because there's the best gelato store in Brunswick, Maine, and I know the minister and some of the people there. That was a side note. Okay, so Beverly Baxter shares that while Phyllis was away from us for a long time, she was a precious part of our community for decades, stayed in touch with many of us, and we long-time members have treasured memories. How many of you knew Phyllis? Let's see a few hands. Yeah. Okay. So I will light a candle in honor of Phyllis. May the light and warmth that was her life continue to shine among us and within us, particularly in those cherished memories that her family has and that any of us may have of her presence in the world and in this congregation. So let's pause for a moment. May her memory continue to be a blessing. So, in honor of our neighbors, our Muslim neighbors who are celebrating Ramadan, beginning the month-long fast of Ramadan this past week, I've picked a mystic Muslim poet, Kabir, to read for our call to worship this morning. Do you believe that there is some place that will make the soul less thirsty? In that great absence, you will find nothing. Be strong, then, and enter into your own body. There you have a solid place for your feet. Think about it carefully. Don't go off somewhere else. Kabir says this: just throw away all thoughts of imaginary things and stand firm in that which you are. Stand firm in that which you are. Let's join now in worship together.
Home. If you have a chalice at home, please join us in lighting it with these words by our old friend Michelle Collins: the work that takes time. We kindle this light for the work that takes time, the seeds unseen rooting, the tides patient carving, the small turning of heart toward open ground. We look towards what is slow and true, the steady flame that sustains our days. Now please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. And Cindy Cohen will help us sing joyfully and loudly.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and mind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Please remain arisen and join me in affirming our mission. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action. I invite you to settle into your seat. I'm going to lead you through a guided meditation for our prayer and meditation today. So if you feel comfortable placing your feet flat on the floor, that helps you connect with the ground that is beneath you. And take a moment to recognize that you are sitting on something. So there is an object that is supporting you that someone made. And wherever you are seated, or if you're lying down at home, that sounds nice, just recognize that there is something underneath you, cushioning you and supporting and holding you. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, allow your shoulders to relax down. Feel your head balancing perfectly at the top of your spine. Your hands resting wherever they feel comfortable. And just take a couple of breaths in and out. Just feeling your body, breathing in and out, supported and held. Breathing in, I am aware of the ground beneath me. It may be separated from you by some flooring and some concrete and some space of a basement or a crawl space, but it's down there. And when you breathe out, feel the support of the earth. So breathing in, I'm grounded. Breathing out, I'm supported. Breathing in, I'm aware of my internal organs, and I'm aware I don't think about them much. 24 hours a day, my heart is beating, my lungs are inflating and deflating, my brain and my nervous system are doing what they need to regulate my body, my digestive tract. I don't think about these things much, but they've been working for me every day of my life. And they, in some sense, are me. So breathing in, just be aware of all of those systems that are just keeping you going and allowing you to be here breathing. And breathing out, smile to them. Breathing in, I'm aware of my internal organs. Breathing out, I smile to them. Breathing in, I'm turning my attention to what's outside of me. And because my eyes are closed and I'm sitting still, the sense that I am most tuned into is hearing. So as I breathe in, I'm aware of sounds that are around me. Some of them are subtle, some of them are loud. We never know if the fire station a block away is going to get a call. I'm breathing out. I receive the sounds without discrimination, not categorizing them as good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, sounds I want to hear more of or sounds I want to hear less of, just recognizing the sounds and receiving them. So breathing in, I'm aware of sounds. Breathing out, I am receiving. Breathing in. I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know that I am breathing out. In, out.
Given our values as a Unitarian Universalist community, a community that values the inherent worthiness of every human being, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and the use of the democratic process within our congregation and in the world society at large. It is legitimate for us to have concerns about some of the directions that our world is taking. So this morning, what I would like to do as I light this candle is to acknowledge all the places where resilience and freedom and care and compassion are being expressed in spite of and maybe because of those concerns we have. This week I saw a tent, a video on television of a tent for Palestinian families coming together to celebrate Ramadan. And the children had paints, and they were decorating the outside of those tents, bringing bright color and joy and creativity to an environment that otherwise might seem very bleak and despairing. So I think about that. I think about those who are trying to uphold the rule of law in our Supreme Court, and those throughout the country who are taking a stand for what will bring forth the dignity and the worth of every human being. So I light this candle in honor of all the actions of resilience and renewal and resistance. We also take a little time in each of our services on Sunday to acknowledge whatever more personal concerns we might have for those we love and care about, and give ourselves a chance to speak them into this room briefly or to write them in the chat if you're joining us online. So let's take a moment first to just attend to our heart and ask ourselves, what am I carrying in my heart today as a care for someone that I know, someone who is close to me, even myself? So we'll start at this side of the room. If you would like to speak a particular concern or care that you have allowed into this room, please do so. So a friend, Camille, who is struggling with pancreatic cancer. It's a journey, yeah, and is in hospice. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go to this part of the room. Yes. Dizzy? Izzy. Oh, yes. Izzy, Susan, and Kevin. Yes. Bosher? Bosher family is grieving. Yeah. Okay. Friend who is trying to help another family that's experiencing homelessness. John and Marilyn. Sister retaking the bar exam. Are your toes crossed, Margot? Okay. Okay. Anyone else? How about here? Kevin. Emmanuel and London family who've lost their 99-year-old matriarch. Wow, let's take that in. Anyone else? Cousin Kathy, who's having health problems. May none of us feel that we have to hold any of these concerns in our heart alone. And whether you spoke them into this room aloud or not, may you feel the care, the concern, and the compassion of all of us surrounding you and available to be with you as you move through this particular concern. So maybe there could be some sparks of joy somewhere in this room that you would like to share with others. And so I'm going to start with this section. Is there a joy that you also bring with you this day that you'd like to share with us? USA Olympians. Okay. Okay. What else? Okay. Waiting third great grandchild. I almost put an extra great in there. Great grandchild any moment. And Lois, and I'll get back to you. Overnight visit from a 8-year-old. Oh gosh, okay. That's a concern or a joy? Okay. Sally? Three weeks she can see grass. Wonderful. Enjoy that while it lasts, Sally. She is a woman of faith. Seeing the park. Yes. How about here? Do you have a joy you would like to share? Yes. Wow. Doyle, I think you see bees where other people don't. But I'm going to trust that you actually saw a bee. Wonderful. Anyone else have a joy to share? Okay, and then we'll go here. Yes. The robin. There was a robin convention on her lawn. Okay. Any other joys? Yes. Birthday with family and celebrations. Okay, great. And Darlene and Scott, Ed, have been thinking of you as you've been with family this past week in Minnesota. Okay, so may all whose names were spoken and those unspoken find peace and healing this day.
Our reading this morning is from The Altar in the World by Barbara Brown Taylor. If I had $1 for every time I hear someone say, I'm spiritual but not religious, then I might not be any wiser about what that means, but I would be richer. I think I know what they mean by religious. It's the spiritual part that is harder to grasp. My guess is they do not use that word in reference to a formal set of beliefs, since that belongs to the religion side of the page. It may be the name for a longing for more meaning, more feeling, more connection, more life. When I hear people talk about spirituality, that seems to be what they are describing. People seem willing to look all over the place for this treasure. They will spend hours launching prayers into the heavens. They will travel halfway around the world to visit a monastery in India. And the last place people look is right under their feet. The everyday activities, accidents, and encounters of their lives. What possible spiritual significance could a trip to the grocery store have? How could something as common as a toothache be a door to greater life?
Thank you, Rebecca. There she was right before me, standing at least a full 5 feet 2 inches tall. Then she took off her shoes right then and there in front of the whole class. She was the professor, after all. She knew how to get our attention. Immediately, Dr. Maria Harris dissolved a few inches right before our eyes. She looked at her perplexed graduate school class and said, "Whenever you teach, you are standing on holy ground." That experience has never left my memory. When Maria Harris began her semester-long course with us with these words about standing on holy ground, with the full force of even her abbreviated stature, I sensed that something shifted in the space in the room. I don't mean that it was visible. It wasn't an external experience as if all at once thousands of holy molecules had entered the room and were dancing around. Yet somehow, my 6-foot seated self resonated with what I heard internally. And I have held on to her simple, unexpected declaration that day. It has become a touchstone for me in all of the teaching I've done around the country in seminaries and in congregations. This touchstone, whenever you teach, you are standing on holy ground, humbles me to recognize that beyond all of my tendencies to over-prepare content, that there is still that recognition that the slides, the presentations, the handouts, the session designs, the script are merely setting the stage for what is to occur or what wants to occur. It is the encounter, the interactions that matter the most. Being available to put aside what was planned sometimes in order to make room for what wants to occur. I almost got rid of the script, huh? There are many ways to describe this being available for what wants to happen. One way to say it is to be present. Dare I say that another way to say it is allowing space for presence. At an early age, and I mean when I was 18, I came across this quote from the analyst Carl Jung, and it's guided me in my own personal and spiritual journey, helped me to assess where to put my energy and attention, what to hold on to, and what to let go. Jung wrote, "Learn your theories well as you can, but put them aside when you touch the miracle of a living soul. Not theories, but your own creative individuality alone must decide." Aren't there more than enough people who are available to tell you what to think, believe, or understand? And isn't it also that possible that the ever-present inner guide that is waiting to be heard and awakened and known by us sometimes doesn't get a word in edgewise? Today, I also understand Maria Harris's declaration about teaching applies to everyday experiences, not just teaching. Martin Buber describes it this way: in spite of all similarities, every living situation has, like a newborn child, a new face that has never been before and will never come again. It demands for you a reaction that cannot be prepared beforehand. It demands nothing of what is past. It demands presence, responsibility. It demands you. In a time when so many of us are entrained to move through life by skimming over the surface or scrolling on the surface of things, we might miss these encounters within the most everydayness of our lives that lure us into being more present with what is, more attentive to presence. Of course, the biblical scholars among us, just trying to figure out who those are. Oh, they're all online, okay. We'll recognize Harris's reference to holy ground. They will recall Moses' dynamic encounter that led him to, as instructed, to take off his shoes as he stood on holy ground. I've often been captured by that story, and this week I reflected on it a little bit more. We have read the story, most of us, or maybe we saw the movie, right? So I'll just provide just a little recap. The preoccupied Moses is a fugitive from justice, hiding out in the Arabian desert to beat a murder rap back in Egypt. While tending his father-in-law's sheep, he sees out of the corner of his eye a bush that is burning but not consumed by the flames. As the story goes, when Moses was willing to put aside what he was already doing, when he was able to follow his curiosity about this bush, as the storyteller says, God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses, here I am." Hineni in Hebrew, Moses said. God asked Moses to take off his shoes, to come no closer. God warned him, not because the ground was hot, but because it is a holy ground. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. This holy encounter, of course, was life-changing for Moses. But it doesn't matter if the story is true or not, since there can be some truth encoded in this ancient story for us, no matter what our religious proclivities happen to be. In her discussion on how the spiritual search can be so elusive to us, Barbara Brown Taylor, in her book An Altar in the World, offers this perspective. No one longs for what he or she already has, and yet the accumulated insight of those wise about spiritual life suggests that the reason so many of us cannot see the red X that marks the spot because we're standing on it. The treasures we seek require no lengthy expedition, no expensive equipment, no superior aptitude or special company. All we lack is the willingness to imagine that we already have everything that we need. The only thing is missing is our consent to be where we are, our consent to be where we are. Remember, Moses says, Hineni, here I am. How many seconds in the day are we where we actually are, that we could say, here I am? How many expeditions during the day that we go on before we realize we haven't been where we are? You see what I'm getting at? Poets pass us notes to remind us of this red X that we're already standing on in our everyday lives. Scientists sketch notes to convey this sense to us that as clearly as they can, reminding us that we are part of a luminous web every moment of our living. And occasionally, we have a direct experience of what Elizabeth Barrett Browning expresses in these verses: earth's crammed with heaven and every common bush afire with God, but only he who sees takes off his shoes. The rest sit around it and pluck blackberries. Now, I realize blackberries can be a religious experience as well. Barbara Brown Taylor uses the metaphors of altars in the world to convey her perspective of the extraordinary in the ordinary, if we are available to receive that. And sometimes we are available to receive the extraordinary in the most ordinary experiences. Brown Taylor writes, I can set a little altar in the world or in my heart. I can stop what I'm doing long enough to see where I am, who I am there with, and how awesome the place is. I can flag one more gate to heaven. This can be an intermittent practice for any one of us if we can pause long enough in all the moments of a particular day and ask ourselves, where am I? Who am I there with? Then we become available, more available to what is happening in the moment. Do you get what I'm saying here? Say yes, say no, say something. In my mind, we often create these hard, fast lines between what is sacred and what is profane. Just as there can be a repression of the sublime, there can also be an equal suppression of the extraordinary in the ordinary. Brown Taylor states that human beings may separate things into as many piles as we wish, separating spirit from flesh, sacred from secular, church from world, but we should not be surprised when God does not recognize the distinctions we make between the two. Earth is so thick with divine possibilities that it is a wonder we can walk anywhere without cracking our shins on altars. Of course, Brown is using her own frameworks by her own experiences and nature her own Christian background and her own sensibility as informed by her study of quantum physics. She lures us towards a world that is not so cut and dried, so categorized and limited. She begins to tell her story this way. My first church was a field of broom grass behind my family's house in Kansas, where I spent days in self-forgetfulness. A small stream held swimmers, wigglers, skaters, and floaters, along with bumps of unseen things moving under the mud. When I blurred my eyes, the sun sparkling on the moving surface turned into a living quilt of life. Begs the question, if this defines church, quote unquote, where was your first church where you became familiar with and sensitive to the wondrous, luminous web of life that we are part of? It could have been in a place with walls, but it could have been a place much broader, much, much broader. It is in these everyday experiences that we can know the profundity, the experiences of everyday life, if we are awake enough to experience them. Now, she says that there are these practices. One is 12 practices. I'll describe them very briefly. One is waking up to the holy, noticing the sacred in the present moment. Another is walking on the earth, grounding ourselves in nature. Another is getting lost, embracing uncertainty and vulnerability. Another is encountering others, recognizing the divine in strangers, or saying no, setting boundaries to honor our human limits, or physical labor, which she calls carrying water, finding meaning in daily chores, feeling pain, using adversity for growth, pronouncing blessing the world rather than just receiving it. Now, wait a minute, Larry, did you say feeling pain? Well, pain is enough to keep you awake, but I think that I didn't say it, she said it. I was just curious, maybe as curious as you are, about what the role of pain has in our appreciating and recognizing the extraordinary in the everyday. She explains her personal experience of going through the agony of a torn cornea, even before and after it was diagnosed and treated. I squinted through those pages, but I hung in there with her because I knew she made it through, or she wouldn't have been able to finish the book, right? But reflecting on that pain, she writes, one night of real pain is enough to strip away your illusions about how strong you are, how brave, how patient and faithful. Who would have thought that a torn cornea would hurt all the way down to the heels of your feet? Who would have imagined that a real bad case of food poisoning could make you doubt the mercy of God? You do not need a torturer standing over you to recognize the direct link between pain and truth. Pain is so real that less real thing like who you thought you were and how you meant to act can vanish like drops of water flung on a hot stove. Your virtues can become as abstract as algebra, your beliefs as porous as clouds. But yet, even in painful experiences, we get in touch with what's most real. We get in touch with our own fragility and appreciate perhaps many of the things that we take for granted in everyday life, like what our internal organs may be doing at any particular moment. We know, many of us know, I suspect, that in pain and suffering that can often accompany pain, that there are some qualities that arise in us, qualities such as faith or hope, fortitude, forgiveness, humility. All of those are present in these experiences one way or another. They become tangible qualities that we want to hold on to, that we want to experience in the moment of that deepest need, pain. Anyone know what I'm talking about here? It is in those moments that we have an encounter with the really real, which for some of us may be the closest we get to the holy, to godliness, or to life with a capital L. So when we think about spirituality, we want to think about how do we embody rather than just imagine this extraordinary within the ordinary of life. In our search for the spiritual, we can find that red X that we happen to be standing on here and now and recognize that we search for more meaning, for more feeling, for more connection, for more life. Maybe that is the definition of spirituality for us, that search for something more. We know that there is more to life than what meets the eye. We've drawn closer to this more in nature, in love, and art, and in grief. And many of us would be happy for someone to teach us how to spend more time in the presence of that deeper reality. For some of us, it becomes more tangible when we participate in the holy through compassionate action in the world. That was the case for Sarah Miles, who decided to create a food pantry at St. Gregory of Nyssa Episcopal Church in San Francisco. She grew up in a family where religion was shunned. She traveled the world as a left-wing journalist and as a lover of food. And she also was a restaurant cook in various places. As an atheist, she was moved when she first attended a communion service at St. Gregory of Nyssa Church, an Episcopal church in San Francisco. The communion meal became for her symbolic of the whole radical love of Jesus for the poor and the dispossessed. And so she was so moved by that experience that she decided to start the St. Gregory Food Pantry. And soon this pantry is feeding thousands of people a week. Miles puts her body, her mind, and her soul into this service. She starts many more pantries as well. Over 500 families are served every Saturday. I've visited that church in San Francisco. It's a wonderful building, a wonderful space. They have one room where they do all of the readings and the sermons and whatever. And then, listen to me carefully, they dance from that room to the next room where they do their ritual of communion with one another. And the space is constructed so that the altar is in the center, and they have this space to dance around. It's that very same space that becomes for them that food pantry on Saturdays. So if you can imagine that altar in the center with food on it for those who need food, and around the room, this sanctuary, are all these bins of food to serve the more than 500 families that go there every Saturday. So as we approach this week, let's recognize that we're already standing on that red X. We're already there. We can ask ourselves, who am I? What am I doing? Who am I with? We can ask ourselves, how can I be more present in this moment? We can recognize that the closest that most people will ever get to a direct experience of what is holy, what is sacred, what matters, is the transformation that they can experience through our loving and compassionate action. What are some of the things that we do as a congregation to be that tangible, loving action in the world? Let me hear a few examples. Ilya? Speak louder, please. Emmanuel Dining Room. Pastoral care. Tapas. So there are many opportunities available to us to make tangible a spirituality that is embodied and present to one another. I'll close with this short story. You may have heard it. A child is afraid of the dark one night in a storm and asks their parent for comfort. The parent tells the child, "God is with you." To which the child replies, "I know, but I need someone with skin on." Look around you and look within you, and let's recognize that we can be that holy, powerful, redeeming, and liberating force with skin on in this world. That's our invitation for this week.
Thank you, Sue and Cindy and the AV team and the ushers for helping get this service together. Persistently, day after day, this church works on the work that takes time to fulfill our mission, nourishing minds and spirits, fighting injustice, and transforming the world inside and out through loving action. We'll hear more about our annual stewardship campaign a little later, in just a minute. But right now, I'm inviting you to focus on our more quotidian sacred duties, keeping the church going day to day, supporting our staff and our programming. Your ongoing offerings make it possible for us to accomplish all this, and we gratefully receive your generous contributions. The ushers will pass among you for the collection, and the ways you can donate will appear on the screen. Thank you. Please join me in dedicating our offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. We are entering our third week of our pledge drive for the, wait for it, for the 2026 to 2027 church year. Our pledge drive-in theme song this year is Take Up the Song, Carry It On. We seek to build and upon our current strengths as we also carry on the best of who we are in the next church year. Our base goal is $598,000, but as of Friday, we have pledges amounting to $317,000, which is 53% of our base goal. Yeah, you can applaud. So we are more than halfway there. If you haven't already made your pledge, and if you had, thank you very much. Remember to make your pledge by using the link sent out to the e-newsletter or stopping by the stewardship table in the parish hall today to fill out your pledge card. It's easy and fun too. And now let's hear from Tracy Spinkadomes, fellow alto, who in this video shares her experience of the congregation.
Take up the song, carry it on.
Hi, my name is Tracy Spinkadomes. I'm a member here at First U. I brought my family here when my children were not quite 3, looking for a place where my children could learn and develop spiritually, to develop their own without being told what they needed to believe. What I didn't realize at that time is that not only would I find a place for my children, I would find a place for myself and a place that I found home and a community that I would grow to love. This community here is so vibrant and it astounds me continually every time I look at all that we do, all that we touch, all that we're involved in. And I want to see that continue. I want to see us continue to grow. And I feel we are at a time in our society where we need what our church gives more than ever. We need the love, we need the action. And so I pledge my funds in our stewardship drive every year. I make a point to increase my donation because I want to see these things continue. And I cannot wait to see what our future holds at this church.
Music ring, take up the song, let your life sing.
Lit a chalice at home. Please extinguish it as we extinguish our sanctuary chalice with these words from the poet William Blake. To see the world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. And our benediction will be sung this week.
I have a-
But, sorry, Reverend Larry. Reverend
So,
Larry has an
yes,
announcement.
we will have a sung
Yeah.
benediction, but a very quick announcement. Who here was planning to attend the Introducing Unitarian Universalist program at 12 o'clock today? Let me see your hands. Okay, we have a few folks. Okay, well, we'll gather in the front of the sanctuary for that right at noon.
Ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple space, its shrine the good heart, its creedal truth, its ritual works of love. If you'd rise in body and spirit and help me sing our closing hymn number 312 in your gray hymnal, if you'd like to use that, and the words will be on the screen. Here on the paths of every day. Thank